In 1970, a little man rode into the sleepy little village of Boone, North Carolina. He was an Italian, Roman Catholic, Yankee. With a name we couldn't pronounce. And the word Obgun or behind his name. We called him Marchese. He just smiled. People had moved to Boone when they were 1 year old from 50 miles away. Southern Baptist, with the name of Green, Smith, or Jones, and lived here for 90 years and never became a native. My friend John not only became accepted as one of us, he soon was our Watauga County national hero. I've made the statement many times that everyone in the high country loves John Marchese. Someone once replied, they should. He either delivered them or delivered their babies. All 8,500 of them. I will be passing around a petition in just a minute, and I'm going to ask you to sign it along with me to petition the mayor and city council to change the name of Boone to Marcheseville. Daniel Boone may have discovered Boone, but John Marchese delivered it. John also changed the way we deliver babies. When John arrived into the high country, our infant mortality rate was above the national average. Today, it's way below the national average. John was responsible for us having modern, up-to-date medical equipment that saved babies and mothers' lives. Today, Watauga Medical Center has the prestigious John R. Marchese Birthing Center. Yeah. Yep. One of the finest, best staffed, and most beautiful birthing centers anywhere. All because of that little Italian Yankee that rode into town 39 years ago. John was one of those rare individuals who really could do anything he set his mind to do. I see Mark nodding with me out there. Well, almost anything. I don't think John would ever have made a really good TV comedian. He could not tell a joke. But he was a fabulous woodworker. He built tables and cabinets. He built an easel not very long ago, and a brush holder I have that he built when we began painting. I remember several years ago, we were next door neighbors, and I needed to borrow a saw to cut some 2x4s. So I called John Saw, I need to cut a few 2x4s. He said, sure. I said, I'll be right over. He said, no, I'll come. I'll be there in a minute. He insisted, and sure enough, in 5 minutes, up pulled John in my driveway with a skill saw, plugged it in, he cut my 2x4s, unplugged it, and said, now here's your saw. I said, I'm not keeping your saw, John. He said, you have to keep it. I have 3 more at home. He did, didn't he? John had a pair and a spare for everything. I'm pretty sure his office was the same way. John told people that I was the first person he met when he came to Boone, and he stayed in spite of that. I've never had a better friend than John Marchese. Last year, we helped each other. We cried together, and we laughed together, and we painted together. Yeah, we painted together. Thanks for having the paintings here. In a very, very short period of time, John became an excellent artist. These are his paintings up here. He'd never painted before. He loved bright colors, the colors of life, bright yellow, bright red and orange and violets. And I would say, John, is that bright enough? And he would say, can we get it a little brighter? Henry David Thoreau once said that to be able to paint a picture or sculpt a bust was a fine thing, but to be able to paint a better life for others, this is a real artist. John sculpted a better life for every person he came in contact with, none more than me. A little man rode into our town in 1970. A giant of a man was carried out on the wings of angels this past week. I love you, Brother John.
I guess that would leave me. I'm the nephew. It's pretty hard to follow a guy like Joe Miller, though, huh? He's a titan, too. Many of you here today knew my Uncle John quite well, or so you thought you did. To me, he seemed to have some of the trappings of a rock star in this region. However, unlike a rock star, he was truly respected by everyone and always remained a gentleman. But to truly understand John, you have to go back to those Italian parents of his. They were Angeline and Salvatore Marchesi. And my grandmother was about 4 foot 11 and a half inches, a real dynamo of energy, a wealth of knowledge, and probably someone who understood human behavior and human nature better than anyone else I ever met in the course of my life. And one of the neatest things about her was her very lighthearted chuckle. She'd make you feel so comfortable to be around her. Yeah, John got that trait. That's right. My grandfather, he was known as Sam. He's not quite as engaging as my grandmother. He had a real quiet sense of confidence about him that let you know that he was actually in charge. Yes, John got that trait too. And so John was sent off into the world with the distillation of the best traits that both parents had to offer. And yes, he set the bar very high for us. Got into medical school at Georgetown. Then he actually graduated from it. And after finishing his training at Chapel Hill in OBGYN, he came to Boone. He probably never dreamed how he altered the course of the lives of the rest of us who would follow him, or the rest of the Marcheses that would follow him. Growing up, I would often hear, "You should try to be more like your Uncle John." And so I was spun off like a whirling dervish with a mandate from my parents, try to be like Uncle John. That was like getting one of those Mission Impossible assignments where the instructions kept self-destructing before you actually had a chance to read them. I don't think that John realized again what he had done to the rest of us by opening up a brand new service in a previously unserved area and basically put him on call 24/7. I mean, you just have to love the guy for being so selfless and improving the lives of so many, while actually making someone else's life tougher. I mean, that would be us. When I was growing up, I always felt there was some sort of mystique around Uncle John. He was so smart, and he could dazzle us with all of his knowledge, and then he would completely disarm you with one of his boyish grins. You all know what I'm talking about there, don't you? It's my belief that there are basically two types of people in the world. Call them what you want. They're doers and non-doers. There are givers and takers. There's those that get it and those that don't get it. And by getting it, I mean understanding the true essence of life. Almost every life that he touched was better off for having known him. And I think you heard that from Joe Miller as well. I think everyone in this room would tell you that. He gave tirelessly of his time and his skills to his community. He never questioned their ability to repay a favor, much as he learned from his strong Christian beliefs. Bear with me here. This is a little tough. I'll miss my Uncle John very much. He served as a role model for me throughout my life. When I saw him a few weeks ago, just before I slipped into a coma, he squeezed my hand, told me that he loved me, and he was very proud of the kind of man and doctor that I'd become. Again, he disarmed me into a completely sobbing, nearly 52-year-old man. But in his wisdom, even with half of his brain full of an unrelenting tumor, he knew that I still needed to know the answer to that question, and that I still sought his approval. I felt a great inner peace that day, and I'll always thank him for making such a strong role model for me. I love you, Uncle John.